Hey guys, welcome back to Phil Plays TCG. Today, we are going to be doing something a little different. We're going to be doing a in-depth discussion type video here about the current state of the Dragon Ball Super card game, Fusion World Masters, and comparing it to the card games like One Piece, which has seen a huge spike in popularity over recent months and hell, probably the recent year. And I just want to compare the two of them because something honestly just doesn't excuse me, something honestly just doesn't add up to me, and I kind of want to talk about it with you guys. I kind of want to get your thoughts and opinions on it. And I'll be honest with you, right now the Fusion World space is kind of barren. You know, we're doing the set 4 reveals, and once set 4 officially drops, we're gonna have a lot of content to go over, a lot of deck testing to do, but for now I feel like this is a time of the year where I can do a little bit more discussion type videos and stuff pertaining to the game as a whole and other card games. But I promise we will be hopping back on that Fusion train content as soon as set 4 is officially revealed and we got a lot of testing to work with. So before we hop into the video though, make sure to hit that like button, make sure to hit the subscribe button. Let's try to get this video to 50 likes. I would very much appreciate that. And we're on our way to 2,500 subs. We're getting there little bit by little bit every day. And I appreciate any and all support you guys are willing to give, especially if you do like card games like Dragon Ball Super, Fusion World Masters, and One Piece. And hell, whatever card game I decide to talk about that day. But with that out of the way, let's talk about this video here. So, excuse me. Basically, I want to talk about the state of the Dragon Ball card game in comparison to Bandai's other very, very, very popular, and let's face it, it's probably their most popular game right now, which is the One Piece card game. And to start this off, I want to talk about the very first card game Bandai did, as far as I'm aware of. You know, involving like, you know, the new age Bandai card games, if you will. And that is the Dragon Ball Super card game. Now, this was released back in 2017. I remember talking with a buddy of mine when I found out this game was going to be a thing. I was incredibly excited. And I remember me and him winning the card games, it just felt natural. And then we found out that locals were happening in our area. So we ended up going to our locals and finding, you know, other players for this game. And I'm still friends with to this day that still play the game, you know, whether it's Masters or Fusion World. One of my buddies, Derek, I met there, who was our TO before I took over. He is a CCG Replay, if you haven't, you know, seen him. He's been on the channel before, but a super awesome dude. And he helped cultivate the game as a whole in our area. And just, we had it was so much fun. You know, the first 10 sets of Dragon Ball Super card game were the Masters card game. Well, sorry, was the basics of it. Once we got into set 10. Set 10 was the start of the next block, which was the Unison block, which they introduced the Unison type card. And then from there, it was set 10 to set 19. That was the Unison, I believe. No, it would have been set 18, I believe. Basically, that huge gap was the Unison block, focusing primarily on the Unison cards. Once we got into set 18 or 19, that's when they started introducing the next Zenkai set, which was the addition of the Z deck. Now, I have kind of gone back and forth on how I feel about the Z deck. The Z deck was essentially a deck of 7 cards at the time that you could only put Z cards in, which were cards exclusive to the sets, and you could play those cards at any point in time as long as you had the energy to play them, as well as the Z energy, which is a new mechanic where after you combo a card, you place that card into the discard pile, into your Z deck, or your Z energy pile, so you could, you know, you have your normal energy and you have your Z energy. And that was a very interesting mechanic, but the card pool was so limited, everyone ran the same Z cards depending on what color you played. And then it's progressively, we're about to release, I think set 26 just dropped. And the game's just become very, very complicated. I'll admit that. As somebody who had played, like, you know, competitively from sets 1 up until, I believe, 21 or 22, this game, I played it competitively, but it got more and more just it got crazier. It got more complicated to the point where I just didn't have as much fun with it as I was hoping for. But we'll go into that, we'll hop into Fusion World in just a quick sec here. But what I was getting at is that Bandai was doing great. This game felt incredibly well supported. The events were happening. Events were happening all the time. They had great participation. I remember going to a tournament and walking in. They're like, "Hey, pick 3 of these playmats here for your participation. You can pick any of these 12 playmats. You get 1 of each. You get 1. You can pick 3, and then here's your promo packs." And I was just like, "Holy crap, this is amazing!" And it was such a cool thing, but I did start to notice that the participation for Masters started going down a little bit. They weren't as as gracious, or they weren't as generous, that's the word, with their participation and their prizing. And then we started noticing other card games were coming out. Of course, Digimon came out, and that's still pretty popular to this day. But I want to say their third game that really started setting them up, One Piece, and we'll get to that in just a quick sec. Actually, you know what? I think I've talked about plenty of Masters right now. Let's talk about One Piece. One Piece has now become, if not the most popular anime on the planet right now. I've watched quite a bit of it, but I don't know. I don't like the anime as much as the typical person seems to. The manga, I feel like, is I don't like the manga style. I'm not a fan of just I always feel like when I read a chapter, nothing happens. But at the same time, it seems like everything's happening. It's just too crowded. I don't know. That's just a personal thing. But I like the card game quite a bit. I remember my roommate Jimmy talked me into going to the first ever super pre-release for One Piece. My buddy Jordan's store, Dark Vassal Games, shout out to him. And I ended up winning that tournament. I became the first winner in Iowa for the super pre-release. And I was just like, this game is actually really fun. Okay, this could be my side game. I really like this. I'll play Masters, or at the time it's just Fusion, it's just Dragon Ball. I'll play Dragon Ball and One Piece as my side game. But the thing I noticed right away was that Dragon Ball and my locals had become stagnant. It was the same people. We were never getting any new players into the game, no matter what we tried to do, whether it was, posting on Facebook, making advertisements, talking to our friends like, "Hey, you like Dragon Ball? Come play cards with us." It never seemed to grow our locals. And over time, our locals started to dwindle, with a lot of the players that used to play kind of dropping out of the game, or just not coming down as often because a lot of them lived out of town. Take One Piece, though. One Piece, for a while, was fairly slow at our locals, and now has become this... It's huge. It's the biggest Bandai game at our locals. And we're constantly getting new players coming into the game. They'll come in, we'll get, if we don't have some of our, regulars come in, we'll get new players coming in. We typically have anywhere from 12 to 16 players. And during big events, we max out at 32. Easy. No problems. And you can kind of tell One Piece, the card game has gotten more popular. It's gotten bigger, especially since when it first launched, you could not find the product. I was lucky enough to get a couple boxes of the first set, but the game was ridiculously hard to get. Bandai was not printing it, and that only seemed to drive up the demand. More people wanted to get into it because of the lack of product. And now, fast forward, we're at a point where product is readily available. My locals has at least the last 3 to 4 sets available. My workplace has the last 2 sets available. It's much more readily available, and so more people are able to play the game. Prices, though, for singles have gone down, which is totally fine. I just think that right now the game is in a really good spot. It's a really healthy spot, and I wish I could say that was the same thing for the Fusion World scene. So, almost 12 minutes into this video here, my point is, it seems that the Dragon Ball, at least in my area, and what it seems like in a lot of other areas as well, from what I've been told, is that the Dragon Ball card game has become stagnant. Like, we're just not growing as much as we should. And I don't get it. Because, like, I don't know. I feel like... I feel like we should be at a point where, you know, there's products readily available. Like, I can go to any of my local stores and see product for Fusion World, the starter decks, the recent set Raging Roar, and it's just, no matter what we do, I try to, you know, promote our locals as much as possible because I'm the new TO, and it's always just me and the same 3 people. Not saying that's bad. I love those guys. You know, those guys are great, but it just, when Fusion World first dropped in our area, there was a lot more hype around it. We had locals up to at least 8 players. You know, a lot of them, unfortunately, were like the same people that were used to play Masters, now coming to try Fusion World out. And unfortunately, a lot of them did drop out of the game because whatever it is, it just didn't have that same, you know, grip on them that Masters did, or at least a lot of them left because of the value of the game. And what I mean by that is the game doesn't have the same kind of value as One Piece does, where a lot of players that I knew are playing One Piece and are buying and reselling One Piece because it's profitable for them. They'll make trips down to the One Piece store in Texas and buy up a bunch of boxes of older sets that are worth money and then immediately sell them online to try to profit. Which, don't get me wrong, I don't understand that, because you're wasting money getting to Texas, and then I don't know how much money you're going to make back that you could cover your cost of traveling there. Just whatever. That's just a me thing. But the value of Dragon Ball in comparison to One Piece just isn't the same. And a lot of people are choosing to play One Piece specifically, not just because they like the game, or if they even like the game in general. It just seems like they're playing the game because of the monetary gain. You know, like, you win a One Piece tournament, you're winning hundreds of dollars worth of cards that you can easily sell, make back all the money you spent traveling, and then, but you go to a Dragon Ball tournament and you do well. If you don't get a serial Goku, you're maybe going to walk away with like $200 worth of cards. And some people are like, that's not worth it. Which, to me, I mean, I'm just like, I go to collect the cards, you know? Like, that's me. I have a row of winner cards that I've got one that, sure, I could sell, but I don't want to. I want to keep them. I want to, you know, look at them and remember that I earned those cards, you know? But then you look at singles too. So you look at boxes too, and singles, and the new Dragon Ball Raging Roar set. Every SR is under $1, while SRs in the new One Piece set are going for, God, anywhere from like $2 to, you know, up to $8. And this, you know, for me, this would be a great reason to jump into Fusion World, because you have these. It's cheaper to get into. It's cheaper to build a deck and play. We have the online client, which, God, I didn't even talk about the online client. The online client is such a godsend for this game that it helps those who don't have a locals stay sharp and play the game, because I think Fusion World is the most fun card game out right now. I really do. I like One Piece. I like Masters. I grew up. I got my start playing Masters, but Masters just isn't as fun to me. It's too complicated. I can play it. It's just, I don't know. I just don't have as much fun with it as I used to. One Piece, I like it. I really do. But Fusion World, I just think has that more competitive itch to me. I think it's a more tactical game than One Piece is, but One Piece has that name and that brand. because One Piece has been doing amazing things over the last 2 years. Well, Dragon Ball, unfortunately, has been a little stagnant since the Super anime ended a couple years back. And only just this last year has Dragon Ball really started to, like, you know, up the ante. You know, we have Dragon Ball Daima coming out, Sparking Zero dropped. Unfortunately, we lost the author, Akira Toriyama, rest in peace. But all those together put more eyes on the Dragon Ball franchise. So now Dragon Ball, I think, is going to have a bit of a resurgence now. But I worry that it's a little too late. You know, and let's talk about the tournament scene too, because in the tournament scene, let's face it here, it's just regionals for this game have not been as popular as One Piece has. The last regional I went to we had like over 200 players sign up, and then by the start of the event the next day, half of those players dropped. Now, I'll admit it was during the Top Coup meta, which unfortunately was an awful time for this game and really hurt the game in general, because no one wanted to play the game because of Top Coup, because every competitive player played Top Coup or Beers. And the game just it wasn't fun at that time, because Top Coup is a broken deck and they waited way too long to nerf him. But yeah, I mean, like, we had about 100 players at our Dragon Ball regional, and at the same time, they were holding a Digimon regional, and there was at least twice the players there. Like, we had to share our regional venue space with Digimon because we weren't filling it up. But you take One Piece regionals, and they fill up like that. You know, they're constantly, you know, full, because players will somehow use bots or whatever to sign up for multiple events and then decide the last second which event they're going to go to, because it's profitable to go. If you go and you do well, you will come back with profit, hundreds of dollars in profit, because you can just sell the winner cards. Hell, you can even sell some of the participation to make back your money. It's crazy. Dragon Ball just doesn't seem to have that same effect right now, and it's crazy to me, because I think it's the better game, you know. But I'll admit right now, you know, Dragon Ball Fusion World is in a bit of a slump, because we're set 3 helped recover the player base. I think the nerfing of Top Coup and the addition of set 3 really helped to increase the player base, and I do see more people are getting into this game. But the problem is, it is very young, and I think right now it is still pretty. Its strategies are still in its infant stage. You know, I've talked to other competitive players, and they've said that the reason why they don't play Fusion World more often is because the game just feels like once you figure out the meta's figured out. Unlike Masters, where color restriction isn't a thing, Fusion World, because you are playing a blue leader, you can only play blue cards. It does kind of it stifles creativity, where Masters, you could play any color in any deck regardless of the leader you're playing. But I do believe they are going to be setting up for multicolor leaders in the future, just like One Piece. But I feel like they're waiting too long to introduce them. I think honestly, they need to introduce these dual color leaders in set 5. They really need to do this, because it's just going to hurt the game in the long run. Because hell, by the time set 5 comes out, it will be close to the year anniversary. So I think it'd be a great opportunity to introduce dual color leaders, or at least allow you to start messing with, like, having different colors in your deck regardless of the leader, you know? God, I'm sorry, this is very much a ranting type video, and I do apologize about that. But sometimes I just get talking, and I just talk about random things in weird orders. But it's just, it does hurt a little bit, and it does bring down my excitement when I'm trying to build up my locals, and there's no one like that wants to start playing the game. Like, I have so much bulk, I have so many cards that I can give to new players. Be like, here's a bunch of cards. You don't even have to buy product. Here's a bunch of cards. Start playing with us. And it's it sucks to see the game not doing as well, but we are still in its infant stage. Set 4 is going to be another stepping stone into making this game a bit more a bit more creative. Each set, I feel like the game gets more and more competitive and more, creative and with your deck strategies. But we still have a lot to work on. And this is not me trying to dunk on One Piece or, try to make people feel doom and gloom for Fusion World. But like, I see what One Piece is doing and how popular the game is and how it's selling out tournaments, and why I don't understand why Fusion World can't do that. It also probably didn't help that they've now divided the game, the fan base, the Dragon Ball fan base, into two games, Masters and Fusion World. In all honesty, probably they needed to get rid of Masters in order to focus primarily on Fusion World. But I also don't like saying that, because I think Masters has a right to exist. I think it is a much more competitive card game, which has its dedicated fans. And I think I think Fusion World should be a little more complicated, but not as hard as Masters is. There's been a lot of really interesting things from One Piece that they brought over to the Dragon Ball side, which was alternate art leaders. I love that. That's great. They brought that over into Masters, which looks amazing. But looking at Fusion World's prices compared to the newest Masters set, Masters was tanking in value for a while. But now you look at it, Masters is honestly probably now more expensive single-wise than One Piece cards are. Which is nuts. Because people say Dragon Ball Masters is dying, kill it off, But honestly, it's doing fine. Masters is doing very, very well. It's got its dedicated fans that will not let this game die. But, I don't know. I feel like Dragon Ball Fusion World got off on the wrong foot because of the lack of product, the lack of hype around it, because people were, of course, pissed off that they were creating another card game for Dragon Ball instead of just, doing what they promised for Masters. So that didn't help. And then, of course, lack of product, and then set 2 meta really hurt the game. And just all these things put together has put Fusion World in a very weird spot. I do see this game getting better. I see this game doing well. But it's going to take us fans and us dedicated players to try to push it to that next level and, really turn out for these events. Show Bandai we want to support the Dragon Ball card game. And I guess at the end of the day, play the card game that means the most to you, I played all the Dragon Ball games. I played both Dragon Ball games. I play One Piece. I play a little bit of Union Arena I'm learning about. I'm going to try learning how to play Sandland Tactics. Let me know if you guys want me to try some of that on the channel. Gundam game looks cool. But what I'm getting at is just, I don't know. Dragon Ball is one of the most popular anime in the world. It's looked at as like the grandfather of anime, of shonen anime at least. And it sucks to see the game not doing as well as it should, or that it could be. I don't know. I'll probably stop because I could keep ranting about this forever. But let me know what you guys think in the comments if you did finish this video. Thank you guys so much for watching the video. I know it's a little bit of a long one, but I really do appreciate you guys. And yeah, just thank you for sticking with me in a slower time for content. We'll be hopping on the content train once again when Set 4 reveals officially drop. More games, more decks, stuff like that. Thank you guys so much once again. You're the absolute goats, and I will see you on the next episode. Take care, guys.